Thank you for inviting me. So the brief is, I will just show you the slides, many of which taken by myself, 80% in fact, which accumulated over the last 42 years. And I'll give a running commentary, and then at the end of that time, or we stop when time runs out, then you can ask me questions, okay? So Beirut to Jerusalem is actually the name of this slideshow. It's not the name of my book. The book took after the show. And this grows, and every day it grows. So that's my hospital, my NHS hospital, St Bart's, 900 years old. Okay, and I've been an NHS doctor for 47 years. So now we begin with the latest. Of course, now we know that 400,000 Palestinians is trapped in northern Gaza, being starved, no medications, the hospital is destroyed, no food. It is a dire situation. So this might be just a lot of facts and figures. I was thinking I should show you because it will remind us of the dimension of what's going on. Of course, Palestinians hate it when you put up figures because they are not figures, they are people. But by putting up figures, then it makes you understand what has happened. 42,000, nearly 43,000 killed, you know, and many of them children, 17,000 children missing under the rubble. Injuries, 100,000. Now, actually, more than that. It is 101,000. So, hostages, homeless, it was 1.9 in October when I compiled these figures, when I know that you want me to talk here. But today, you are about to add on another 500,000 from northern Gaza because their homes are systematically being destroyed if they survive. So here you are, medical personnel killed, doctors, nurses, UNRWA. Actually, I'll leave all these slides with you. Would that be okay? On Hassan's computer, so you don't have to take pictures, all right? Okay. Journalists, but it's all up to 25th of October, okay? Journalists killed. So it's a dangerous place for everybody if you are Palestinian or a supporter of the Palestinian people. Of the 36 hospitals, 35 has been destroyed. And Lancet, which is one of the most prestigious medical journals in the whole world, think that actually the death toll is more than that. Because in a war situation, when they're being massacred, when the hospitals are killed, they might fail to report death. So I don't know, okay? People are buried under rubble. So might be nearer to 186,000, maybe 200,000, maybe more. And you find that, you know, children with no surviving family, children missing, confirmed dead, 16,314, that was in July, okay? I always put the date so that you know where is it coming from, but today will be different. So the structure is destroyed. Just to make it more visual, this is a picture of a place called Khan Yunis. You'll hear a lot about Khan Yunis because it has been invaded again by the Israeli army. That is also where the Nasser hospital was, where some of my colleagues are still working, and the Palestinian doctors are working, if they're allowed to work. That's, medicine are blockaded. So that is how Khan Yunis look like now. And when the Israeli army withdrew, people who are displaced out of Khan Yunis into Al-Muasi come back to this kind, and identification of the dead. So against this background, we got the International Court of Justice. Just now you hear Andrew speaking, and he forgot to mention that it's South Africa that brought the case of plausible genocide. And it gets very emotional when I think of South Africa, because I know what they've been through, and yet to stand up against all the powerful nations to file this case. So my respect to them. You know, of course, you cannot say genocide until everybody is dead. So genocide is always, you know, in retrospect. So that's why the word plausible is used. And that's why the media gets you when you talk about genocide. No, it's plausible. No, it doesn't mean it's not happening. But to confirm real genocide, the whole population has to be wiped out. Now that's stupid, but that's the law. And the interim Court of Justice, I'm quite sure, I don't have to tell you, I'm sure you've seen it and heard it, the measure, the rulings. And if you look at the rulings, I point you to the last bullet point, allowing food and water into Gaza. That was January 26th. On January 27, the day following, Israel has persuaded USA, UK, many European countries, Japan, Australia, Canada, to defund UNRWA. Because it's alleged that 13 of their employees had participated in the Hamas attack. They only prove that 2 has because they were killed, and our ID card verify who they are. The other 13 have still no proof. And UNRWA is a big organization. It is mandated by the General Assembly in 1949 to look after the refugees from Palestine. So it goes back that long. And they provide schooling, right, sanitation, and they kept the Palestinians alive. Without UNRWA, the Palestinians will be, if they survive the Nakba, but as an identity coherent people, might not be the way it is. So that's why the attacks on UNRWA is really serious now. At the moment, it is going to be delegitimized. So if you're an UNRWA employee, Israel can actually just kill you. Because if it's declared, illegal and terrorist, you can do anything to anybody. Okay, so that's the background. So this is a pager attack. As I came off the plane, just now, we also spoke a little bit about the arms industry. So this one was touted as a fantastic weapon against terrorists. Because what happened is that if you hold your mobile phone or your pager, and if you might be Hezbollah, it explodes on you, it produced no collateral damage. You are the one who get it. But they forget that Motorola phones is a big concern. The phones are actually Motorola pagers, subcontracted to a Taiwan firm, subcontracted again to a European firm, and they have implanted explosive in it. So the people who hold the pager means doctors, nurses, firemen, civil defense, ambulance driver, hospital porters. When a pager goes, it just blows up. So these are the kind of patients I have. So it's not only that they lose their hands, they lose their eyes as well. Many of them are blinded. I want to show you this picture because I want to talk to you about Lebanese, okay? If I don't put this picture up, I forget to talk about the Lebanese. When I was operating on patients, by the second day, by the third day, I was actually tired and depressed. Because as a hand surgeon, I know that these people have a bad future in front of them. They are working young men, and they are not fighters. Fighters don't carry pages, right? So what kind of future they have? So in the evening, I went to talk to my patients after I operate on them, explaining that the future will be tough, but what will they expect? This is my usual practice. I came to this patient I operated on, and then he said that, "Doctor, what's your name? I can't see your face. You are not Lebanese?" I said, "No, I'm not." "Where are you from?" And we went a conversation. And he said, "Is my operation okay?" I said that it's okay, but given your injury, I really don't know what to expect. You will have to go to many operations, and it will be difficult. You have to be strong. And because I'm not Lebanese, I might not be doing a next operation, but someone competent will look after you. He said, "Doctor, don't be sad. Please don't be sad." I am not sad. He said that when I decide to stand up for humanity and justice and support Gaza, I know that this will happen to me. So this is what exactly happened. I spent a week operating on them, and as I was leaving Lebanon, you know what happened. The airplanes came, bombed, and many people were killed. Up to now, maybe about 3,000. Homes destroyed. Not only in the south, they will have you believe that the south are full of Hezbollah, so therefore they can change South Lebanon into a Gaza. But now they're bringing it into the mountains, into Baalbek, into Beirut city, creating another genocide. And the rest of the world just swallow all these stories put out by the mainstream media. And actually in church, I was very angry. One fellow just told me, look, Swee, if you allow your country to hold terrorists, this is what to expect, isn't it? I said, wait a minute. I said, I'm going to send for Father Allen, and let's see whether he agrees with you. You know, that kind of thing. You dehumanize the people, and then you can destroy them and blame them. You blame them for their own genocide. I hope everybody has seen this map, and anybody hasn't and wants me to explain what's going on down here. I think you have to know these maps very well, because most of the world don't know what this is all about. They will say this is a very complicated situation, you know, you can't explain in 5 minutes. Yes, you can. Because up to the time when Britain inherits the mandate for Palestine, 96% of Palestine, land and whatever it is, are lived in by Arab Christians and Muslims, right? So there's a map on your left. When Britain surrenders the mandate to UN because they gave up, they can't handle the situation, they supported, you know, making a homeland for the Jewish people in Palestine, and long story, okay, Balfour and all that. And then UN decided to keep the peace, just partition Palestine. 1947, and that's Resolution 181. These are basic facts, very simple. And that time, it is 54% Arab homeland, 56% Arab homeland, 44% Jewish homeland. Then the map on the third right is actually what happened after the War of Independence for Israel, or the Nakba. 78% of the land is taken to form the state of Israel. Then Gaza and the West Bank came under Egyptian and West Bank Jordanian administration. It's not occupation, but they have got to look after the refugees. So after the Six-Day War, it's all white, including Golan Heights. And now, 5% is green, 5 to 8%, Area A. So you can see how historical Palestine becomes 8% of the new Palestine under the two-state solution were it to happen. So this is very simple. It is just ethnic cleansing. Ethnic cleansing plus genocide. It's not complicated at all. So there's no need to get involved with all the convoluted arguments that the newspaper and the press involve you in. So I talk about something personal. 42 years ago, I was watching the television each night of the destruction of a country called Lebanon. And it looks very much like the bombing of Gaza now. And I watch it day and night after work. And because I came from a tradition of being a Zionist Christian, also believing that Israel is moral, the army of Israel is moral, I could not understand why the planes that were dropping the bombs were Israeli. Why the children being killed and the women being killed, the schools being bombed, were Lebanese. How come? So I got caught in a very, very complicated argument put forward to me by my Jewish friends, and I just couldn't get my head around it. I said, is this the will of God? They said, oh, yes, you know. So in the end, after a few weeks, I just gave up. I resigned from my NHS job, joined the Christian Aid team, and flew out to Beirut to be a doctor. When I arrived, we see blocks and blocks of building destroyed. This is one of the big implosion bombs that's being used constantly in Gaza and Lebanon. But that picture was taken in 1982. 11-floor building sucked in, bearing 200 people alive. And all this to justify getting the PLO to evacuate. So this was the first day of the evacuation of the PLO. And here again I learned, because I said, oh, very good, the PLO is going. So we're going to have peace. And actually, who were these people that are evacuating? I didn't meet them, but I met their families saying goodbye to them. These are mothers, old men, brothers and sisters saying goodbye to either their husbands, their sons, when they get onto the boat, never to come back. And if you can read the posters, it just say, good luck to you, we love you. And that was Beirut saying goodbye to the PLO. So for me, a hard Zionist, it's very hard to take. Somebody loves the PLO. What on earth is going on? Anyway, the evacuations are underwritten by the Habib peace plan. He was a forerunner of Blinken. So the peace plan is if the PLO evacuated, multinational peacekeeping force and USA will underwrite the security, safety of everybody left behind. So I was given an ID card, and I went to work in a hospital called Gaza Hospital. The Palestine Red Crescent Society has 9 hospitals, every one of them flattened except Gaza Hospital. And rumor has it that the PLO put 3 Israeli soldiers on the 6th floor, so the bombing stopped. Top floor, gone. 10th floor, gone. But the rest of the floors were intact. So from the 9th floor, we can see this kind of building. And this was Sabra-Shatila, 1982. When the Nakba happened, nearly 800,000 Palestinians were driven out. In Lebanon took 110,000 refugees. They put in 12 United Nations camps, and what you were looking at is Sabra-Shatila in Beirut. Over the 34 years, the refugees, knowing that they can't go home, begin to build up a town and called their hospitals Gaza, after the Gaza Strip, Haifa, Ramallah, and in these surroundings, they bring up their children and their grandchildren. I met Palestinian doctors, I worked with them, and I want you to see their faces, not mine, because you will know that they're gentle and kind people. I learned about Palestinian embroidery, beautiful embroidery, and the women will sit down, and as they embroider, they say that, look, Dr. Swee, this is a motif from my village, it's no more. Israel destroyed it. And beautiful dresses they made. So that was my induction into the Palestinian cause. Not from history books, not from the newspapers who only call them terrorists, and that's why they deserve to die, but from the people who suffer and whose family were killed, whose homes were destroyed. And from them, I learned the truth. Otherwise, I won't be talking to you today. 3 weeks later, Israeli tanks rolled in under the pretext that the PLO did not evacuate completely. So they shelled their way through all the way up to Beirut city, and then surrounded our refugee camp, one contingent, sealing it so that nobody can leave, nobody can come. And remember, the Palestinians and the Lebanese as well has just come back to rebuild their homes. So the camp was very crowded, and nobody can escape. And the BBC every hour on hour, broadcast to the whole world that Israel had to re-invade Lebanon to clean up the terrorists. And the shelling came closer and closer, and then the massacre started. Completely defenseless people being butchered at gunpoint. Children, young people rebuilding their homes. Our mortuary filled up. We operated non-stop, and this was one scene when I came up to check up on a patient, a mother and a child. They were both, together with a lot of people, told to go back into their house because it's safe, the streets are not, and when they're all in, they just shelled the house. Everybody were killed except the baby and the mother. I went to see whether they needed blood transfusion, and I find that the hospital has run out of blood. There was only one packet left, and the mother pleaded with us to give it to her child, and she died. I also want to show you this picture, because in this picture there are two persons. Very interesting. The man lying down has got darker skin. He was a nurse from Bangladesh. The lady standing is also a nurse. She's fair-skinned. You can't see her, because of the quality. I tell you, she got blue eyes and blonde hair. She's a Swedish nurse. She was looking after him because the sniper wanted to kill him. So that's racial profiling. What a way to learn, huh? On the last day, our hospital has about several thousand people hiding in it, thinking that the presence of 22 foreigners might give them some kind of protection, because now the story is clear that they were murdering people outside and killing them in their own homes. So our hospital administrator got news that the hospitals, the Lebanese hospitals, were also invaded, and doctors and nurses shot. So they told all the people taking refuge with us to please go, otherwise they might be killed as well. This was the last patient I operated on, late Friday evening. He was standing with 22 members of his family, 27, members of his family when they all shot, killed. And of course, he being a boy, just collapsed, and he didn't die. He was shot 3 times, he escaped. He passed out, which saved his life. So when the people who were acting under Israeli command left, his friends brought him to us, and we operated on him, and we saved him. It was a long night, but the night passed into the morning, and then a group of militiamen came to the bottom of the hospital and ordered everybody with a foreign passport out. And that was the moment I dreaded. I really dreaded, because I knew that if we left, they would just come in and shoot all our patients. So how can you live under this kind of circumstances? But at the same time, how can you not leave when they want to shoot you on the spot? So remember, the Swedish nurse refused to go. She said, we have 30 patients on ventilators. I will stay and look after them. The rest of you will go. You can keep me as hostage, so that should be okay. So she was a voluntary human shield. We're taken out of the basement operating theater, and it's the first time in many days that I saw the sunlight. And I also saw the painful truth. While we were trying to save a couple of 100 lives, the camp was systematically butchered and killed. And as I was walking with my team, escorted by very hostile militia, a desperate young mother tried to give me her baby, and that was forbidden. And weeks later, I found out that both were killed together with many people by the roadside. So, I want to ask you, if you were in that situation, what would you do? these people actually wanted to give peace a chance. They actually trusted what the USA say. And now, they're just dead. Years later, I could trace back how my involvement with the Palestinians started. Because up to then, I was a real Zionist, okay? Bigoted, argumentative. But probably that time when each body would carry a refugee identity card, dead. And we learned, or did not learn, and Gaza happened. I went back to the refugee camp and found out that all the houses refurbished, repainted, were dynamited. At the end was a mass grave. Just now you talk about going every year. That's where we go, because that mass grave has now become a memorial park with 1,000 bodies buried underneath it. And people call it Martyr Square. And every year we go and lay flowers at the memorial and meet the survivors and their family. And the mass grave is the same everywhere, whether it's Sarajevo or anywhere. You will have all the houses cleared by dynamite or shelling or bulldozers, and then the bodies will be dumped there, and earth put on it, white lime to dissolve the body and the flesh, so that's hard to identify. So that was the mass grave, one of the many mass graves. Children often standing before the walls where their parents were murdered. Children with no home to face for the Lebanese winter. Doesn't it sound like Gaza? It's exactly the same thing, right? But except it's 42 years ago. And my little patient survived. I went to visit his grandmother, who walked 20 kilometers from a different refugee camp back to find out whether her family was okay. She arrived to find that 27 were dead. There was this common misconception that Arabs and Muslims and Asians and Orientals do not feel the kind of feeling we have for our family. We do not feel the same kind of pain that Europeans do. So I will carry on with this for another 5 minutes, and then we stop for Q&A, okay? Hajar walked 20 kilometers to find that her family were all killed. I don't speak Arabic, but I asked her to say something, and I recorded it. This is part of what she said. I printed in my book. Our doves are still here. Our carnations give fragrance, and our sparrows sing their usual songs, yet my children are nowhere to be found. Beirut, you took all I had. You took my last hope in life. My heart lies dead in your street. Abu Zuhair, my fine young son, was cruelly cut off his roots on your soil. May his mother feel my pain. Mother says, my children, come visit our graves. I go to your graves and tenderly embrace the stones. I ask them, please make way so that my loved ones can breathe. How I envy those of you that were present when my loved ones died. Did you let them die thirsty, or were you merciful enough to give them a drink? I ask every passing bird to carry my love and anxiety to you. But my calls remain unanswered. Mountains of distance are between us now. Our hearts have died and our tears have dried for all the men and women who have died. God Almighty, give us patience, and my children, may my love be a lantern to your path, and may God show you the holy way. So that's how a Palestinian grandmother grieved for her grandchildren. I came out of Hajar's house completely broken. I couldn't understand the Arabic, but by the tone of her voice, that my advocate who come to translate for me was sobbing right through and couldn't translate. I knew it was terrible. I came out, and I didn't know where I was going. I walked to the main street of the camp. Remember the road where we were taken up? And all the bodies were laid out on both sides for people to identify. And then suddenly, children came. And this group of children came, and you can see the boy has got a plaster on his wrist. Of course, he's an orthopedic patient. He was my patient. And he said, oh, Dr. Sine, the Chinese doctor, you come back. They didn't kill you. And all the children were so excited. They came around me and started telling me about what happened, how they saw the massacre, how they'd be orphans now. And I said, okay, look, first thing first, I am not Chinese, okay? Anna Britannia. So they look at me, no, you're not British. You Chinese, you very, very good. British, very, very bad. They gave away our country. Now, I don't know who taught them that, you know. You see, so you are talking about intergeneration, I don't know what to do. But suddenly, all of them came and lined up and asked me to take a picture of them. And then, of course, I said, yeah, of course, I take a picture. And then they raised their hands in the victory sign, saying, we are not afraid. Let the Israelis come. That I understood. Behind them were destroyed buildings. In front of them were dead bodies for identification. And the air was filled with the stench of decaying human flesh. But between death and destruction are the Palestinian children. So it's not a time for despair. It's a time to speak up. It's a time to count the cost, no matter how expensive, for making a stand. I went to Jerusalem to testify on their behalf. 42 years now. There's still no peace in Lebanon. So I think I'll stop here for questioning. Otherwise, it's 200 slides.